Hello and welcome to Mecanique Sportive. I'm Nicola. Today I'm presenting a mini Rafale. Finally, the newly restyled Austral is here. We now have our hands on it. We've already seen it briefly on the internet, a few small photos. It's on the Renault website, and finally we can test it. As always, a thorough review. You know me, I make the most in-depth car reviews online, testing on highways, rural roads and winding paths. I'd introduced it to you back then. More than 200,000 of you watched the video. Thank you, by the way. As a reminder, for videos exceeding 100,000 views, I select a comment and send a 100 gift card to the author. On all the videos since the Renault 4 and on everything on the channel, including the long test drive videos like this, don't hesitate to comment, like, and subscribe to support the channel and make me happy. It also allows me to continue doing more test drives like this. So today, the full review of this new Austral. What's different? You could see it directly. It's mainly this front end that's completely new, with this hood that was redesigned and the whole front face that's different. The design is inspired by the Rafale, with new matrix headlights from the Renault Rafale, replacing the previous full LED headlights. The Austral, launched by Renault in 2022 with a fresh design, has already sold over 200,000 units, indicating its success. The pricing starts at 41,800 and the Esprit Alpine version costs 45,900 euros. Plus you can add a few small options if you want. That's a new blue, and this blue is just gorgeous. I love the shades they're making right now. Honestly, it's between the old blue and the blue of the new Symbiose. It's really between the two. And in the sunlight like this, it really has style. What do you think? I think it's incredible. He also gave us a nice name, Overseas Blue. It kind of reminds me of those beautiful waters and all that. It's a slightly larger vehicle. In my view, it's due to this blade, which protrudes a bit over 200 centimeters. It's 4 meters 53 now, so it was 4 meters 51 before, 1 meter 83 wide. That hasn't changed. It stands 1.64 meters tall, with weight being virtually identical as well. It's mainly just a facelift, but there are 2 or 3 small changes. You'll see that during the test drive. 1,538 kilograms for the standard version, and for those who choose the strong control. That's something I really absolutely recommend because it changes the way you drive. You gain a meter in turning diameter, and it really feels much, much better. We're at 1,612 kilograms, so let's say we add about 80 kilograms for the 4-wheel steering system. But that significantly alters the driving experience, resulting in a lot more enjoyment. The small sport utility vehicle has a 10-meter turning diameter and is surrounded by other vehicles. The 18 centimeters of ground clearance enables easy navigation over rough paths and curbs without issues. This car promises a range of 1,000 kilometers with just 55 liters of gas thanks to its high-tech engine. It's very fuel efficient. We'll recheck fuel consumption today on all road types. For the engine in France, only the 200 horsepower tech will be available. Other engines are discontinued. Some countries will get the 160 horsepower version. But for us, it will only be this version because in France it represented only 5 to 10% of sales. What wasn't hybrid, and the hybrid here, it really makes up 1,000%, and we'll see that during this test drive. So it's the 1 liter 2, so I-Tech, 200 horsepower with a 400 volt battery of 2 kilowatt hours, which is more than enough for full hybridization. A maximum speed of 190 kilometers per hour and 0 to 100 in 8.4 seconds. Of course, you know me, we'll test that. And 0 to 100 in 8.4 seconds. Of course, you know me, we'll test that. As usual, always available with technological upgrades and Alpine Spirit. So you find that here, and with Alpine Spirit. It has a special feature, the grille. I'm showing you the compasses up front again. As mentioned earlier, it's returning. Rafale has a new set of rims, a new front, and a new rear. There's a little camera inside. Let me show you. We'll talk about it again as soon as we're inside. Some small differences. We have a big glass roof, tinted rear windows, and the wheels are painted just like that. Honestly, it looks amazing. Honestly, it suits it really well, like that. At the front, where the cameras for level 2 driving, adaptive cruise control, and lane centering are located, we're becoming familiar with the technology. We have a small defrosting windshield that goes well with the little filaments. For winter, it's always more convenient, so the two-tone on this trim. In the end, we'll have a choice of 11 different combinations between the colors, more colors, and two-tone. So the hood here is really flat, just like in sport utility vehicle. I've carved it out a bit here and it bulges a little, so that's also new. And from there, you can really see the difference compared to the old one, which had slightly rounded lights. They've kept some of the old features, but here it's really a new front end. It's evolving. So, for example, you can see that Symbiote and all that, they have the same lower part, but not yet the upper part, like the Rafale's lights. The Austral, let's say, is kind of a mix with the S-Space, because the S-Space felt to me like a big Austral. Although Renault doesn't want us to say it, I appreciate that the facelifted S-Space still looks the way I think it should. I'll show you that pretty soon, along with another car as well, the Symbiote 160 horsepower, which I'll present to you in the coming weeks. So under this hood, we now only find the 1.2 litre E-Tech with 200 horsepower. And then here, the big logo in the center, which includes sensors for driver assistance features for the adaptive cruise control and so on. It's good that they're integrated here with the new Renault logo now, which is really everywhere. We discovered this on another car you presented. I was among the first to point it out to you, by the way. Put me in the comments section which car also has little diamonds like that on its grille. There is one normally for now in Alpine Spirit as well, and then these matrix headlights still with this hologram aspect a little more. This very, very refined version, which really gives something special to this car. The 2000 aux Anges is found on each side with small air intakes for the side air curtains, which really affects the aerodynamic side of this car. There are lots and lots of parts. Actually, it's impressive how many parts are scattered all over the place. So this one really goes all the way around with the front part, which makes up the whole front section. Next, we have this blade, similar to the F1 blades from the past. Then there's a small part here that's painted, a plastic part here in the center, and an air intake a bit lower down as well. Honestly, it's made up of many parts, which I must admit gives it a very nice touch. Upon closer inspection, you can see many shapes and details. I must admit I enjoy it when something is highly detailed, as it reminds me of Lamborghini's approach. It's really stuffed with sharp lines and so on. I must admit it works well. The light, the way it's made, allows you to see through it completely. It's beautiful and I love it. And in any case, whoever designed this headlight, well done. It's very, very beautiful. On the side, look at this in full sunlight. The blue really stands out, and the two-tone as well. You can see black around the wheel arches, on the mirrors, and on the top and bottom. Here, everything is painted. It's really nice. Even the black has sparkles and so on. A beautiful varnish. Honestly, it looks high quality. It really does. The car is becoming more and more premium. The little Esprit Alpine badge here, because Esprit Alpine is exactly what makes this car a bit more upscale, since it's Alpine. It's still the flagship though. A French car, let's say. There aren't many French things that are quite this high-end. I don't see it that way. Now that little badge over there, which usually makes a difference, plays a small part too. Inside, we'll see the seats and the new celery as well, which is called, and I have it, which will make the difference. Compared to the previous model, we still have this particular shape here. On the side, nothing changes except for the wheels. So here we can see the new model. Some people have called it Flocons, I think, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's actually called Altitude, but that's to remind you of a snowflake. Like Alpine in the Alps, the mountains always fitted with Michelin tires. A primacy. To have both the dynamic side and at the same time eco-driving and low rolling resistance. Disc brakes on all wheels. Front ones recover energy via electric braking, minimizing brake pad usage. The hybrid feature remains an advantage. The rest, like fridge-style handles, remains unchanged. The next evolution that will make a difference in cars is when there are small flush handles integrated directly by Renault. That will be cool, kind of like the Scenic. And we also find roof bars on the top and on the rear part. You immediately notice these new rear lights, and they still keep a bit of the design we're familiar with from Renault. It's a completely new part featuring 100% LED lighting and a turn signal on this side with a subtle scrolling effect. The entire half diamond lights up at the front, just like at the back. It's exceptionally well executed. We have small parts here, a transparent block inside, and the lighting is done through transparency, which really diffuses the light well, plus these little lines like this. Honestly, it's very nice. I like it. It's understated, efficient, simple, with a beautiful design, and very sleek. Anyway, it's stylish and modern, so it works for me. And on the back, the trunk has been modified to add this feature and the new Renault logo, which is not flat here. Otherwise, not much has changed. And the way it's brushed, just like the Austral, which is polished like this, it gives us a bit of a brushed look. I must admit, this is a very nice and subtle style. When you have your car, a closer look reveals that they put in a little effort, which I think is pretty cool. The wiper is still here, the spoiler is up there with the third brake light, and the backup camera is right here. Everything is painted except for the small central part, which is plastic, slightly rougher and grainy. And then we even have some little inserts here, also pretty cool. Just below, we find the exhaust, as this car is not fully electric. On this side, the badge is there to remind us of the engine, and from now on, it's all about tech. In any case, in France, when you open the trunk, there are 527 volumes to know about. There are 527 liters in this configuration. Then we can move forward. The bench seat, which slides 16 centimeters, also gives you some storage space under the floor right here, which brings us up to 657 liters. And now it's starting to get really interesting. It's good for a sport utility vehicle to have a lot of trunk space. Families often buy these cars, which will be interesting. You can fold down the seats directly by pulling on the little levers here, this side in a 2/3, 1/3 split, and 2 baby seats with top tether International Standards Organization FIX attachments on the rear bench and a small cigarette lighter on this side. And there you go, I'll show you the interior. You know quite well, of course, that Nico fits in here without any problem. Here, I'm in the smallest configuration with the high floor, the hatch here, plus the seats pushed back. I still have a lot of space left then. 600 liters, that's pretty nice. So let's take a look at what's going on inside to show you a bit about my size in the back and front seats to give you an idea of this interior. Then we'll test drive it. That's where it will get most interesting, especially to see how the engine performs. A few minor changes have been made, so let's check out the Austral's interior. The back hasn't seen any significant alterations. But since we're going for an Alpine vibe, we have a nice finish. But right here, I see this kind of Alcantara that's padded. And on top of that, it's really nice to the touch. It's soft, it's great, it feels good. On the top, we have pretty basic plastic, just like on the bottom. And here along the armrest, there's a kind of faux leather. Everything close to my hands here, like the handle, is nice to touch. Same thing, I can really put my hand through, which allows for a good grip here. To close the car and a small compartment or 3, not for big bottles, but for small 50 centiliter ones. It'll fit here, so we have a small step here. You can lean on it and hop, sit down, slide your feet in. I'm 1.80 meters tall and I adjusted the front seat for myself. And why? It's really spacious, even if I close my door right here. So Nicholas, the 1.80 meters baby. Here in the back, there's room for my legs and I have space for my feet. I drive with the seat pretty low and I still have a little bit of space for my feet to fit under the seat. Since I'm in an Esprit Alpine trim, we have this upholstery that's really specific with this fabric here that actually grips really well. Plus, there are little touches of Alcantara around and the ends are justified, but we don't have them in the center. They only put them on the 2 ends. So I would have liked maybe a little bit here to make my seat really my own, really sporty. And with Alcantara, the center console is at the same level as the side consoles, which is good. As soon as I rest my elbow here, it ends up in the cup holder. So you have to position your elbow like this. They didn't put any little tabs, but they did put in an armrest that comes down pretty easily. So that's actually pretty good. The third seat belt is right here. Look at this big glass roof. Unfortunately, this version doesn't have the solar bay, but it still has the sunshade. Honestly, I prefer the sunshade, even though it's less modern and high-tech. But I prefer it. When it's closed, it also affects the sound insulation of the car. So why not? I think it's still good, and being able to close it is better if I don't want sunlight. I'm actually pretty comfortable right now. I've got a bit of lateral support. I've got support in the seat. It's really decent. And even for my head, honestly, I'm comfortable. We have 2 USB-C ports here and some ventilation. I can't adjust my air temperature. Well, I can only adjust the airflow, but I can't set my temperature here. So we have a Bison in the front and air vents in the back with a small central tunnel here. And when I move to the middle seat, since I'm quite tall, up, the buckles, no, the seat belts, they move a little bit, but I can feel them. They're still quite tight. However, here the backrest is very hard, especially the part here in the corridor where I can really feel it bending there in my lower back. Then at the head level, it's the same. I'm comfortable here. However, I have an incredible view of the front and this large glass roof here. I feel like I'm in a convertible and that feels great. It's a shame we don't have more cars with a retractable roof. A 44 just barely fits, and actually they dug out a little bit for my toe. It fits really well here, so that's a good engineering idea. Maybe they wore size 44 like me, but it fits perfectly here. And honestly, well, it's actually pretty good. I'm watching a machine go by that's mowing the golf lawns, a 3-wheeled thing with a rear steering wheel. Sometimes I think I should try out all kinds of machines on this channel. It would be fun, like a crane, an excavator, a backhoe, something like that, golf carts, different stuff. Honestly, it would be fun, right? Tractors, combine harvesters. Anyway, there are plenty of things to do. Now, I should think about it. So, this Austral, when I take you for a little ride in the beast, it really feels beastly. And then, don't they remind you of a car from another brand? A little bit with this front end shape, this style, still a little sloping thing like that with this little background decor. It's cute. The front is really stylish. Look, even here, it's very, very vertical, and they radically change the look and it becomes a bit more aggressive. On the side, it's still kind of the same, but this color really, really suits it. It's very beautiful. It catches the eye on this side. For 55 liters of gas, the rear lights, when they're off like this, the little outline is there. As I was saying, I showed it a little closer, and you can really see that slightly brushed effect here as well, which we also find on the Austral. The rear three-quarters, you know, I really like the rear three-quarters. And we're going to go straight to the interior. So I stood here because it's the only place where there's shade really for miles around. Because otherwise, look, it looks like this. Spain is beautiful. And there are pools everywhere, nice little activities going on. We did it. He missed the door handle, so it looks like this. It's a bit like the back, except this time it's foamy on top. It's a little nicer. We have LED lighting here, which is lit up in blue right now, and the Armand Cardon sound system. And as you can see here, with small mirrors that reflect the handle a bit here in black. Plus here, this part with aluminum imitation. We also have the same foamed Alcantara with blue stitching on this trim Alpine Spirit as well here with this synthetic leather. The house uses a lot of recycled materials, with almost everything being recycled. The lower part features more raw plastic. Or here, on the other hand, you could put a large bottle. As you can see, this one fits easily. A 1.5 liter bottle would almost fit like this. The seats are electric on this version. You can see it here with the controls. And then, so here, we're in the Alpine Spirit, as I was saying. So this imitation leather here, this texture also at the back, plus a little bit of Alcantara here with the blue, white and red flag to remind us of our beautiful French colors, and the Alpine logo here. So unlike in the Rafale, this time it won't be illuminated, it's just embroidered here. And as for the headrest, we find the same ones, except this time as well. A special feature, look here, these little stitching details right here. That's what it looks like, and here's a more general view. The pedals in line with the Alpine Spirit are the same as those found on the Megane Renault Sport and other Alpine models, with a sportier touch. The large footrest on the left covers the hood. The floor mats and door sill embody the Alpine Spirit, with a nice Alpine logo visible when you open the door. All right, with the little mat and all that, it almost feels like the real thing. All right, here I come. Inside, I'll move back as much as possible to give you the best point of view. I love how the little animations and sound effects always add a special touch. The mirrors are well designed, with curved corners on both sides. Appreciate Renault for this thoughtful feature. That's really a real plus for safety. Plus, the blind spot warning right here, the multi-scene display, which you'll find here, the steering wheel that we're starting to get familiar with, but this time with a bit of Alcantara here as well, plus leather here, and the little blue, white and red stitching. The Alpine Spirit is evident throughout this car, a familiar theme we've come to know. On this side are the driving aids, limiters, cruise control and adaptive cruise control. And on this side, it's going to be the menus to scroll through and everything related to audio, etc. We still have the little control for the music behind here. That's the multi-scene switch to change modes, as I mentioned, and the steering wheel is adjustable in height and depth. Like this, we have the handbrake here and the hold function that you can activate so you don't have to keep braking when you're stopped. At a red light, for example, yes. The personal MySFT lets you deactivate driving aids if desired and remotely open the electric trunk, which is a big plus. All right, I'll start it for you. Here we go. So now it's starting. Normally, the engine almost never runs when we're stopped. It's just that here, since I left the air conditioner running, I did the filming and that's what it looks like. So you can see here, I've only driven 400 meters so far. So I'll really get a feel for the car with you as soon as we start moving. On this side, we have the speed information, etc. And we can scroll through the menus with a nice little animation each time. So it's a little bit slow, but the speed is always displayed on the side and we have slightly different themes. After that, it's your choice. We can still scroll through the information we had. Here we can also have a global positioning system on demand. In addition to what we have there, we even have a head-up display that will give us global positioning system directions. So Honestly, here you can really find your way. I'm getting closer here because actually the screen, that's my remaining battery level. So it's not a rechargeable car. Don't forget, it's just a regular hybrid. On this side, this is to shift gears down to drive. So it goes into D here.
Pulled back towards.
Upwards, it goes into R and it shows me the rear view cameras right here. We can see the rear view cameras are of good quality. It's pretty standard. It's different compared to a lot of Renault vehicles. Then I can change. I can also see on the sides this way. We have the 360 mode. That's awesome. I think it's really cool. The guy who invented this, bravo. And I can really do it with the standard version. The front and back cameras work, and switching back to the front shows the front camera view again while maintaining the view. And for the parking button, so we're going to press this little button to switch back to parking mode. We have paddles behind the steering wheel. We'll see how that goes. Earlier for regeneration, you can see that little thing at the bottom. You see it shows more or less recovery. And here, headlight flash plus automatic headlights by pressing the button here. Then I can turn on the lights if I want, but leaving it in auto mode is perfectly fine. And the automatic high beams at night. Then on this side, we have the windshield wipers, and so that's for the music a little lower down. To start the car, simply press the start or stop button. We've already discussed these screens and are becoming familiar with them. If you follow my videos, I've made dedicated videos about this screen. Android Automotive is a fantastic system that works well and is currently one of the best available for cars. We have shortcuts like on a smartphone, including a home button located here. You can have music right here with all the radio stations. So here we're in Spain, Catalonia and information. The phone, if you've wirelessly connected Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and the car's apps displayed there. You can even install Waze directly natively in your car if you want, or have Google Maps where it works very well. Waze is a nice extra for having speed cameras. You can see it's super smooth, working just like on a smartphone. It even works while watching videos. I'll request a 5-hour, 58-minute trip which sets the departure immediately. And there you go, it's pretty good, pretty easy, honestly great. And you can even see if you want to go back anywhere, and it's super smooth. That's another case, it's marked in French France. That's what there is. Oh no, there it is. It changed again to France, Francia, Austria, Germany, Denmark, Piero, Russia, Ukraine. In Spanish, it changes a little bit. The name's Turkey. There are a lot of A's. Algeria, Sahara, Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Chad. There are things that have the same name, but Francia, Spain, anyway, that's it. Then the big advantage of Renault, compared to many other brands as well, is that they listen to what we were telling them. It's suspicious to squint, leaving real physical buttons for all the climate control commands. Defrost the windshield using the small filaments in the shortcuts. Here, you may not be able to see them there. And filaments in the windshield that allow for very quick defrosting. In winter, heated seats and a heated steering wheel with 3 touch-controlled settings are a big advantage. I'm definitely not going to turn it on because it's very hot today and there's air conditioning on both sides. On my side and on the other side, I can sync both, and the hazard lights are here, lock the car there. Further down, there are 2 USB ports. Cigarette lighter sockets are becoming increasingly uncommon, but ultimately, with the single board computer, we can now charge everything up to a high wattage. Here, the key that's inside, so still the little Renault here, and that's what it looks like, still in the trunk. Turn on the lights remotely and open the double cup holder right there. And this part, well, it was pretty funny when they released this. Either I open here or I open here. A small compartment that lets me store something else and keep it hidden and warm, and a wireless charger for the phone at this spot with this handle that I can hold like this. If I want, it's firm, it holds well. And when I'm driving, I have my elbow here, so this part, and it's a shame, they put padding there, but not here, and most of the time my elbow is right here. Yet, I have long arms, I'm 6 feet tall, so you can imagine that my arm is even longer. So someone with a shorter arm would really be here, so it's a little less comfortable. Maybe I wouldn't have made this sliding thing so big. Maybe I would have put some padding like this, longer here, and maybe done something else. There you go, I'm not a designer. Here we open here, we also have the little box right here, and we have quite a bit of space. That's what we put in here. On the dashboard we also find some LED lights. Here then, which comes onto the doors there at that spot, and which comes back to my left door. Here it's hard plastic, and there on the other hand it's padded Alcantara, a slightly different texture, and 2 air vents for my passenger. He can have both full vents if he wants. I have two here, one on each side of the steering wheel. Less vertical, he sees horizontal. Next, the glove box here, which is quite spacious. And as you can see here, you can fit a large A4 sheet in like this to store files. Maybe a small binder right here. That's a plus for salespeople. And that's basically everything we have on this car. If you want to take a quick screenshot, here you go. We have all the information here. The 0 to 100 wasn't lying. The 80-125 seconds 6 Tata, electric motor 50 kilowatts, kilowatt-hour battery, 200 horsepower here. Anyway, there you go. If you do it, a screenshot and zoom in, and you'll be able to see everything better here. On the top, the small frameless mirror, it's nice. The glass is cased, that's great. And the second great thing is this, to talk with the people in the back. With the convex mirror like they used to have in family minivans, that's a real plus. Well done, Renault, for including it, and also the Save Our Souls button. You can open and close the sunshade and the LEDs here, all with touch controls. Look at this huge panoramic glass roof. It's gigantic, but what's a shame is that as the driver, you never really get to enjoy it. Look, here I am, I'm the driver, and the roof starts right here, above my head. My eyes are here, so actually, when I'm driving, I don't even realize that I have a glass roof. That's the slight downside. It has limited range. What is it? The Citroën C4 had a large feature that extended up to a certain point, which I found to be crazy. Oh yeah, I didn't tell you about this. Look at this, you know this, we had this on the Rafale. So basically it's a camera that we're going to see here. And when it detects me, so I'm going to get into this car. The camera that films me is for driving assistance, to detect if I'm tired and other purposes. But also when I get in, it will recognize my face, like your phone for example, and it will pre-configure the car. As you said it yourself, for example, your driving aids, your seat, and it's your menu, all the stuff with Google, etc. It will recognize you and allow all that to be saved, which is pretty cool. Let me know what you think about it. And honestly, it's pretty well hidden there for a long time, really. It doesn't bother me. Or to be honest, I hadn't seen it before. I knew it was there, but I didn't pay attention to it. Anyway, that's what it looks like right here and up there. I'm not going to show that. The little mirror here with a white LED just above it. Little mirror. There we go. Let's see how it looks. This car on the... Friends, here we go on board this newly restyled Austral. So stay tuned because I had lunch with the press officer for this car. And so there are more new features than what I told you in the description. So the seats have changed. I told you there was a bit of a new style, etc. That's changed. The padding was changed to make the car more comfortable than before, as some people had said it was a bit firm. They also changed the suspension, so they really changed the shock absorbers for something more comfortable. They changed the mirror mounts and the mirror covers so that it makes less noise at high speed. I'm looking forward to testing that. They used laminated glass, so the UP, the front window, is laminated, so that's it. Normally, it should have better soundproofing. The design has also been revised here, so you get better support in the seats. We'll see how it goes, but honestly, I feel good even with the seat right now. Android 12 then. An evolution to make the screens and style even smoother. A bit of a refresh in the screen design. And the gearbox was revised with new programming. And there you go, in addition to this little camera here, which when configured, recognizes me and will readjust the seat, etc. All my settings when I get into this car and it recognizes me. Drive, let's go. We're picking up everyone now. And Austral. There's one in gray over there. There was also a white one, very pretty over there. So the strong control, they let the barriers close. There, I'm going to do it. If I'm going off-road, I'll go through there. We'll test it like that.
Take a left onto collisions, Masia area.
Bus yes 2, and it allows us to test like that, exactly. Also, the turning diameter is real. The suspension was pretty comfortable. And I turn, and actually all four wheels. Steering, it's not bad, it's not bad. On the grids, the bumps already comfortable. At first glance, it looks pretty interesting to drive in fully electric mode, and yet my battery is drained. The engine just started up, so we still have this 3-cylinder. A 1-liter engine with 200 horsepower combined with the electric side. So the electric side that has 70 horsepower to power the wheels, and a gearbox with another electric motor that has 25 horsepower, plus the combustion engine that brings 130 horsepower and all that, and that makes 200 horsepower in total, the 200 horsepower. We rarely use the full horsepower of a car, even with a Ferrari, except when fully pressing the accelerator pedal. Often we use 150, 200 horsepower when we press hard, 16, 3, 400, and often the horsepower. The power is at its peak when the engine revs are at the top of the range. The engine is now started. Honestly, I can hear it a little bit for you. It's a 3-cylinder, and 3 cylinders always have a bit of a distinctive sound, but personally, I don't really like 3 cylinders. It's the vibrations it brings into the cabin, and for example, when you stop and it's still running, although it's rare for it to run while stopped. Currently, the car is recharging due to the air conditioning running. However, the vibrations from the 3-cylinder engine suggest that there are more pleasant options available. I prefer their 4-cylinder engines in the group, especially the new 1.8, which came out on the Big Star and will be released on the Symbiote soon. I have to admit, that's a little bonus, and anyway, I'm already back in electric mode. And what I forgot to do is also to reset it, but consumption. So now I'm resetting everything to 0. There we go. I'm checking carefully like this. I'm really giving you the real consumption numbers. And now I'm at 0. It's good. We're off and have done some stretches, but I'll do more later in the city. Now we're moving on to the road. You've got 80 here. It kicks the engine back in. I can hear it slightly in the cabin when I'm accelerating at a steady speed, but it's still very decent. I'm going to turn on the air conditioning. For me, it's rare that I'd like to have it blowing on me, but right now it's 30, 31 degrees, so it's a bit hot. What I also like to do was immediately set up my autonomous driving modes. Let's go a little stretch at 70 here. So Renault, it's been years now. We don't even know what engine speed we're at anymore. There's a Megane Renault Sport behind us, tuned. Driver assistance systems are still a plus. From a certain point, I'm going downhill most of the time, so I switch back to electric. The engine shut off, going downhill. Regeneration is going to recharge me. Little by little, the battery also recharges when the engine is running. We don't have the iSave mode like some Renaults here, but right now, for example, I'm not using any power, I'm recharging. That's actually pretty good. Z's driving works well, so now we're used to it. The lane centering is good. The gearbox has been reprogrammed, resulting in smoother performance between 40 and 70 km/h. The rest was already satisfactory. Honestly, I hadn't noticed any particular issues. We'll soon test everything from 0 to 100 to see how it performs. Regardless, it's enjoyable, particularly at 70, more so in electric mode. That way, when we're going downhill, I can go up to 81. It only accelerates again in electric mode, so the recharging is just right. In electric mode, you can drive up to 135 kilometers per hour. In full electric, you can have phases, even if I'm at 130. On the highway, it will cut off. The engine runs a little bit in electric mode, depending on the conditions, and that's actually quite pleasant. So here there were trucks, cars, motorcycles that passed by. And now the soundproofing is honestly very, very pleasant. It allows to really soundproof. Honestly, I'm in my little car here. It's comfortable, it's pleasant. The seats are pretty good, maybe just to nitpick. In addition to heated seats, ventilated seats would be nice. That would have been the best of the best, especially for a country like here in Spain, where it's still really hot. I'm thinking that here, we're only in Barcelona. We're not in the south of Spain, like Malaga, where we often go. So just imagine. Maybe I should have lowered the center headrest more as soon as it's raised even a little bit. Actually, it blocks the rear view a lot, since the window is pretty small in the rear view mirror. So don't forget to lower the center one when there's no one there. But here, it's really nice. The engine has restarted. I'm following them because I was looking at the dashboard, but honestly, I have to admit, I didn't hear the beep beep. That was to tell me I was going a little too fast. And just with the maxi switch, I can turn that off. If, for example, I'm just a bit too fast, or even if it's 60 and I'm at 61, something will beep. And I admit that we often are when we drive with the driving aids. Often we manage to get to the right speed afterwards. It's pretty nice. Under these conditions, with a full tank, it indicates a range of 670 kilometers. That's it. I believe it's a mix, as other journalists used this car before me. There are some who really drive like crazy, who do a lot of back and forth, who do tracking shots, etc. for their videos. So it really consumes differently depending on each person. So for me, it's the same. I reset it to 0. My goal is to give you. This mix of routes typically includes 100 kilometers of varying roads, including mountains. And I'm going to try to give you a real idea of the actual consumption of this car. For now, it's nice. It made the turns, stayed in the right lane, and followed the left line. That's why you always have to keep your hands on the wheel, especially on small roads like this. After that, the adaptive cruise control, you can leave it on, it handles itself very well. She cuts back in. The hybrid engine works perfectly at Renault. The tech is very pleasant and the fuel consumption is truly impressive. We'll see how it goes now with this new Austral, where they've tweaked the engine a bit to really have the final version. 2025. Now, here we are arriving in a small village. What am I going to do? I'm actually going to try to go through all the little streets to take a walk around this small village to really give you an idea of real-world use and not just driving at 80 where everything goes smoothly. We're going to stop and then we'll restart the trim. A bit more realistic when stopped. So when I'm stopped, I have my rate if I want. I press the little button here, like I told you earlier. It lets me release everything and wait while releasing the pressure from my legs. I don't need to stay on the pedals. I like that. I think being a bonus, it allows further relaxation. Additionally, you can use, if you want, the adaptive cruise control. But if there's no one in front of your car, it's fine. But if a car stops in front of you, the adaptive cruise control will stop as well. And there's a small speed bump. Well, it's quite comfortable. I go downhill every time you're on a downward slope and well, you're not going to consume, so that's also an advantage. So here we're recreating energy, which we don't do with a 100% thermal engine. Abdurden, it's not uncomfortable. So they said they revised the suspension to make it even more comfortable. So I was almost expecting something like a Citroën, and you still get a bit of firmness, but it doesn't bother me. Well, I think it's fine on the right. So just sometimes I think with the way I move my head, I end up right at the glove box opening, the glove box, the compartment, body, a speed bump. I try to go over that one a bit faster. They're cooler here for 2 years than back home where they do strict stuff. Actually, they're just sidewalks. They're not speed bumps, but I'm still in electric mode. So there's a little whistling from the electric motor, and even at deceleration below 30 kilometers per hour, there's the pedestrian noise and the pedestrian noise. I can still hear it quite a bit, so I admit that's the little thing with Renault and all their cars, like the R5 and R4, etc. You hear it all the time, and I like it when it's ultra quiet. It's a bit of a shame that you can hear it here, but then it makes a little noise. It's like it's a combustion car. Some may enjoy it, others may not. Let me know your thoughts. Personally, I know that when I'm driving electric, I like it to be completely silent. It's not comfortable at all. Anyway, I'll get back to you on a smoother road, maybe even on some small roads, very dynamic. From what I remember, the Austral we tested near Madrid was taken up into the mountains. I love the chassis. The strong control was honestly incredible. I know that the roads I usually take are supposed to be a bit winding. And I'll give you an update from over there. I forgot to mention the paddles here, which can be useful in the city, like right now, for example. I accelerate, then release at their place at the minimum recovery level. I can pull the paddle once like this, but with an arrow I can pull twice. I can pull 3 times, up to 3 times. It's almost like a B mode that really slows down a lot. And does it go all the way to a stop? No, we don't have one pedal driving on hybrids. I don't think we've ever seen one pedal driving on a hybrid, but it does allow me, for example, to slow down or accelerate. That was the route. No big deal. We'll just take a slightly longer detour. Say, for example, like when there's a speed bump, I release the pedal, I don't touch anything, it slows down a lot, and then I use just a little bit of gas to reach the right speed for the speed bump. That can be good for the city. I know some people like to have strong regeneration. Often we don't have a choice. We either have drive mode or B mode, which is the brake mode, so that's the strong regeneration like that. So that allows you, for example, just by letting go and anticipating to reach the speed bump at the right speed From there, it varies by individual. Now, we're at a small roundabout with few people around. I can switch to sport mode, which will adjust the ambience and pedal responsiveness. Now I can feel that it's immediately more dynamic, the way it turns and the steering feel. Okay, so here, honestly, the super dynamic chassis of Austral, thanks to the strong control, I think it's really good. It holds the road well, and it makes the rear feel like it's always wrapping around. And actually, to have this car that really pivots on itself. And now, for example, I'm going to pick up the pace a bit and there's no one else around. And right here, honestly, even going really, really fast, here I'm actually going really, really fast. The SP Med opens up very, very slightly here when changing the angle up. Honestly, it leans very slightly, but you can feel that it's pretty dynamic, especially in sport mode like this. Well, hop, 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 hop. So it might lean a bit more than before, since they wanted the car to be a bit more comfortable in sport mode. The engine runs more to recharge the battery, providing improved responsiveness. And I have to admit here, the 200 horsepower side, I feel it much more than in comfort mode. But still, even here. Let's say I'm at 47, but I never floor it. It takes a little time, because the engine won't downshift just to go really high in the revs. Yeah, actually it doesn't over rev, it will downshift, but it won't go up to the top. And that side of it can sometimes be a little bit frustrating. Sport mode. If I tell it that I really want it to work, honestly, I won't lie to you, it works. It accelerates well, but maybe it's missing that little edge for the tight corners on winding roads. Here we'll see how it really performs dynamically. The chassis is still really, really good, so we're not necessarily going to go too fast. But it's more interesting to really see it in the twisty sections, in the curves. That's where full control really makes a difference compared to almost all the other cars. None of them can compete with that, except for some really high-end cars that also have four-wheel steering in the seats. Really well supported. Honestly, I could slow down a little, but I feel like here, I don't even need to slow down the car. Even I'm going pretty fast. It's really, really good. Actually, I'm thinking, you know, the car just goes, it leans very slightly. It stays stable and dynamic. Well, after this little mix, so the small mountain roads, I got it down to 5.4 on average. So we can see that as soon as it runs a bit better in terms of consumption, it starts to get really interesting. Now, we're going to do something smoother. We'll get on the highway here and see how it goes on the highway. They're calling it the highway, so I'm going now. I've switched back to comfort mode, which suits us really, really well. It accelerates nicely and the engine is pretty quiet. Here there's a short stretch at 100 km/h, followed by a long stretch at 120 km/h in Spain. To be honest with you, I'm going uphill right now. I'm going to head towards Mount Serrat, which you often see in my videos, where it's always very, very beautiful, to be honest with you. The engine makes very little noise. Just a bit of rolling noise. Really well soundproofed around the windows and for wind noise. So it was reworked. Like I told you, they changed the mirror housings for better aerodynamics. They reworked the entire front end. So we no longer have the same disturbances at the front, and the air moves differently now, clearly. At 100 kilometers per hour. I barely have any wind noise at all. It's really super quiet. And even now, the truck next to me, I can barely hear it. Yet, we're going uphill. Even my engine revving higher, I can barely hear it. And I have to admit, it's honestly pretty interesting. I extended my trip to find something meaningful for you because it wasn't at all on our route and we're going through a tunnel, so this lets me show you. So here, the ambient lighting, that little strip there, it's simple. The screens stay on all in white. Same thing. Here, I bought something else that you can't see, but that's what it looks like. At night, it's simple, but still there's a bit of modernity with this little LED strip right here. In the end, I'm adding more distance for myself, likely several kilometers, as the highway seems quite far, so I believe I'm increasing the total distance here. Easily, 30 or 40 kilometers. And on the other hand, I have a little bit of time because tonight I'm still going back to Paris, and tomorrow I'm going to Hanover to try out other cars. And I told myself, well, come on, I had a little bit of time anyway between the two flights. to provide the most thorough review. The more we drive this car, the better understanding we'll have of its fuel consumption. Bring it up to about 120 here, that's perfect. The truck is moving over, 120 on cruise control. All right, it's pulling well as usual. I can't give you the engine revolutions per minute at 120 kilometers per hour, but it has gone up a little bit. So knowing that we're in the mountains, I think I went up a little more. We went from 5.9 on average to 120. It's really not bad. The wind noise is well contained. So it slows down a bit because there are people getting in front. I hope they won't stay too long. Okay, let's go. A few people. Thank you, sir. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of 130. I'm going uphill. Also, what's impressive about this engine is that it rarely revs high. So even the 130, I barely hear it. We're starting to hear a bit of wind noise, but it's still relatively fine. All right, what we're going to do is get on the highway. We're really going to do it again. Low speed, maximum acceleration to get back up to 120. And even here, I can tell you there's absolutely no one behind me. What I'm going to do is start from 0. We're back up to 120. We'll definitely lose a bit, but let's go. The taste, the beginning, and 30, 31, 50, 72, 85, 100, 110, 120. Yeah, it's okay. You know what? What's really disturbing is that actually there's a little bit of electric, a little bit of license involved. It's quite disturbing because we don't really know who gives what and at what moment. But honestly, it's going pretty well. I was able to merge without too much trouble. But actually, we don't have any reference points with this variable valve timing and lift electronic control every time during hard acceleration. All right, come on, I'll do it again for you. From 120, I have 14 kilometers left like this, and it will really give us a better idea of the highway conditions with this hybrid. And as we've seen, honestly, at 120, it's not bad. At 130, you hear a little more noise knowing that there aren't that many countries that drive at 130. In my opinion, they're primarily developing it for Europe at 120 than for us French people, even though I think they're still working on it for us as well under those conditions. All right, I'll give you a little bit at 130 just to... Yeah, 120 is really super calm. At 130, you start to hear the wind noise. It's remarkable how much of a difference just 10 kilometers per hour can make. At 130, I have a bit... I feel it a little bit all over. Look here, I'm going back to 120. There's almost nothing left. There's a significant difference between 101 and 130. It's impressive. All right, sport mode. I decided to find a super winding mountain road for myself. Let's go. It accelerates well and it brakes pretty well. Oh yeah, it really turns. Full throttle acceleration. The SP makes sure it doesn't slip. Let's go. The Sept Ut 1 is great and accelerates well. The chassis is really great. Honestly, there's not much to say. The goal isn't to go too fast either. On the straight lines, it's mostly tested in the corners. But heavy braking, so we have a pretty special progression since we first brake with the electric system and then comes the actual braking right on the pads. Watch out for the road work, but it still holds up really well. It's really cool. It's super pleasant for entering fast. It opens up slightly afterwards. Super stable. Actually, with the way it handles, you think, no, it's not going to go through that fast. And honestly, even if the tires slide a bit, it still goes through really fast. You don't even realize it, actually. You're going fast, and it's pretty impressive, and it's super stable. I really like it. Honestly, it would deserve slightly sportier tires, so it could be a bit more dynamic, so you could go through even faster. But we're already going through at good speeds. There you go. It's all the little stones because they're doing road work, but it's really pleasant. So this Austral, what do we think about it? In the end, how much did I drive? 121.1 kilometers, having done a bit of everything. Let's say a mix, mainly country roads and mountains. I average 5.9 per 100 kilometers, which is pretty good. Knowing that I didn't necessarily go easy on the car, I didn't do any eco driving or anything like that. We drove dynamically, even off camera, as I completed a good loop. First, it's 3:30. I left at about 1 o'clock, so that's already a good drive. Pretty nice. The suspension is still comfortable. So from what they told me, it's a little more than before. I admit I don't remember the previous version anymore. I admit that I try so many cars, but I find it comfortable, and at the same time, it's dynamic. It doesn't lean too much, just enough to be comfortable. The seats really hold you in place very well. Here, it's good. Here, it's just top-notch. The big panoramic glass roof. I admit that it's definitely a bonus to have that in your car. The steering is really good and the driving assists work well. The integrated Google Maps works really well. The seats are comfortable, you're well settled in, and the gearbox is always a bit special. That doesn't necessarily make this car a sports car, you could say, so it's not really a true sports car. But still, it does stand out. Alpine Spirit, so then there's the Alpine Spirit side. As for the chassis, honestly, it's not bad at all. It's actually good, but it's true that the gearbox, the engine and so on, it works great for daily use, really soft in comfort mode, and performs well in sport mode too. There's still some good pickup, but you don't really get the feeling that the car wants to give it its all, you know? By the way, I still have 720 km of range left after having done 121.1 km. We left late with 700. Depending on your driving, that's how long it will take. We can do better than 5. After the mountain road, as I said, I had a little fun, the 0 to 100, etc. I think we can count on somewhere between 5 and 5.5 on a daily basis. In the city, it may consume slightly more based on conditions and use of heating or air conditioning, as the air conditioner draws power from the battery. If you remain stopped in traffic jams, the engine may restart and consume more fuel, especially at low speeds. You can hear it slightly when driving above 80. The engine is quite quiet, and the Harman Kardon sound system provides excellent audio quality that can easily mask the noise. And well, it's still a very good car. Personally, I still recommend the Austral because it's good, it doesn't use that much fuel, and even though it's a big car, there's plenty of space in the trunk. There you go, for example, it just restarted because exactly the air conditioning is running, and just like that the battery went down, so we only have 2 kilowatt hours gross, so it runs out pretty quickly. The air conditioning uses about 1,000 watts, so the battery never fully drains, except really when going downhill in the mountains. Otherwise, that's it. Anyway, good car. The style is really much more stylish than before, even though the first one already had my kind of look. I admit the front is great, well done Renault, and the interior was already top-notch. Everything around me is honestly pleasant, so there you go. Don't hesitate. If you're interested, give a little thumbs up. Don't hesitate to subscribe and comment. You now know the new rule on the channel. And I'll see you soon for another video. All right, bye.